Do you know the old adage, if you don't succeed, try again? The story of Frank Winfield Woolworth and his store Woolworths is one of trying again and again, of learning to pivot when faced with difficulty. Frank Woolworth's ability to do so catapulted his store to international success. By Woolworth's 100th anniversary, it was the largest department chain store in the entire world. Had Frank Winfield Woolworth given up at his first failure, the retail shopping experience would simply not be what it is today. He pioneered and developed merchandising, pricing, and direct purchasing, and customer service practices that are now common in the United States. With almost 5,000 nearly identical stores across the world, it was the first brand to go global. Young Frank was born and raised in New York. When he was 4, he announced he was going to be a peddler someday and often played store with his brother. In the late 1870s, Frank worked in a dry goods store, washing windows, stocking shelves, and arranging window items. He never liked that most items didn't have a price tag. He thought it to be a poor business practice. So he got permission to set up a table, filling it with slow-moving merchandise, like thimbles and baby bibs, and priced it all at 5 cents. The items quickly moved, and so did Frank. Buoyed by his 5-cent experiment, he borrowed $300 and opened his first shop in 1879, filled with 5-cent only items in Utica, New York. But this experiment didn't work. Within weeks, the store closed. Now, where most might give up after such a failed endeavor, Frank Woolworth was even more determined to succeed. He moved to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and gave it another go. And this time, Woolworth's great 5-cent store, well, it made it. And not only did it make it, but it changed the landscape of retail in the United States. Woolworth's was revolutionary, really. Frank was the first to utilize a display case. He put items in front of customers so that they could make selections, instead of a clerk doing so for them. As the first 5 and dime store, Woolworth's offered all merchandise at a set price of either 5 or 10 cents. This pricing policy would last for over 50 years. Soon, along with a few partners, including his brother, the one who played store with him as a child, the group opened up stores all over Pennsylvania, and then all over New York. He encouraged friends and family to open up stores. They operated independently, but all carried his merchandise. By 1912, this syndicate of stores, all 596 of them, became incorporated, taking on the name F.W. Woolworth Company. Frank sometimes quietly visited his stores and shoplifted items as a test of the staff. If he was caught, he often rewarded the employee with a promotion. In 1913, Frank moved his office to the newly completed Woolworth building in Manhattan, a building he paid for in cash. It stood as the tallest building in the world until 1930. Only a few years later, in 1919, Frank Woolworth died in New York from an untreated infected tooth. But the retail empire he built, it kept going. And if something wasn't succeeding, it changed. For example, in the 1930s, it became clear that prices needed to increase. So after 50-some years as a true 5 and dime, the limit went up to 20 cents. But even that was hard to sustain. And within a few years, the board eliminated the price limit, making the era of purchasing with pocket change come to a close. The Woolworths in Liverpool, England, was the first to create a lunch counter in its store. The idea was popular and quickly spread to other Woolworth stores. Today, it doesn't seem unusual to grab some coffee at Barnes & Noble, but Woolworths was the first to do such a thing. And that lunch counter was the impetus for a lot of change. Really. In the 1960s, many places, including Woolworths, were segregated. One day, in 1960, in Greensboro, North Carolina, 4 men, later to be known as the Greensboro Four, sat down in the white-only section of the Woolworth lunch counter. They actually sat there every day until the store agreed to serve them, and they inspired many, 1,000 others to join them. Their actions changed Woolworth's segregation policy, and by 1965, all Woolworth stores were desegregated. The 1960s also saw the birth of the big box store. Sam Walton opened Walmart, Dayton's opened Target, and S.S. Kresge Company opened Kmart. Woolworths got in on the game too and launched Woolco, a full-line discount department store. While it had hundreds of stores, it eventually closed all the U.S. stores in 1983. Walmart purchased all of the remaining Canadian Woolco stores in 1994. But the rise of the bigger stores meant the fall of the smaller ones, and Woolworths couldn't keep up. Woolworths started closing and selling stores. By 1997, all Woolworth stores closed. The company changed its name to Venator, focusing on some of their sporting goods stores opened in the 1970s. And in 2001, the company changed its name again to Foot Locker, which are still open today. Woolworths was a staple in downtown shopping districts all over the country. It was pivotal in the development of retail practices that we're accustomed to today. Fixed pricing, merchandise displays, supplier partnerships, strict branding, and even in-store coffee and restaurants. The story of Woolworths is one of pivoting and changing with the times to find success. Thanks for watching Memory Mountain. If you enjoyed this video, please click to subscribe to our channel and hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to tap the notification bell so you'll be one of the first to know when we post our next story looking back over the landscape of Americana.